Welcome to the Face-to-Face Ministries podcast, the #1 resource for learning what it means to have a healed heart, connect more deeply with Jesus, and experience true and lasting transformation in your life. I am one of your hosts, Melinda Wilson.
And I'm your other host, Cathy Little. Please hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the fresh content that we're continuing to release. And while you're at it, we greatly appreciate your help in getting the word out by giving us a 5-star rating and leaving us a quick review.
You can also keep up with us by following our social media by searching face-to-faceministries.org on Facebook. And that has no spaces, no numbers, and no caps. And on Instagram at face-to-face-min. And that is all one word.
Our team also offers one-on-one ministry sessions that can be done virtually. And one of our favorite things to do is to train others to do what we do in helping others connect with Jesus. So if you want information on that, we can help you out.
Yeah, and for more information about all the resources, including what Cathy's talking about, our trainings, our events that we offer, visit face-to-faceministries.org. And while you're there, please sign up for our newsletter.
All right, let's dive into today's episode.
Well, it is great to be back. Hello, happy 2025.
Happy New Year. Well, we did it. We survived another trip around the sun.
Well, isn't that when it's your birthday, though? I don't know.
Every year you cycle around. It's not the only just your birthday that you celebrate that. New Year's.
Oh, I guess that's why they do fireworks. In any case, yeah. I'm just glad it's winter. I love winter. It is my absolute favorite season. We're actually designed in winter, like we're looking at nature, to rest. And yet the culture, our Western culture, is like, make all these resolutions, join the gym. I was at the gym today. I'm like, it was pretty full. Like, how many of those people are going to like drop off after a month? But winter is about resting.
Well, let me tell you what I did over Christmas, because I don't rest very well. And I not just shut down, I shut off, like totally off for a few days. Like we're talking Hallmark movies with nothing else in the day. Just really, I mean, it was a very strong break for me. I even put a vacation responder on my phone.
That was a bit of a miracle.
Very much. What did you do? You did some fun stuff over holidays.
I was just excited about getting back into baking, and I got an one of the best gifts of my life.
Yes, she did.
Red KitchenAid stand mixer, which I have wanted from my dear friend Cathy and my dear sister Darla. They went in and got me this red KitchenAid stand mixer, which is just, it's a work of art just looking at it.
It is a work of art.
In fact, they talk about, I was on Pinterest and stuff, and it, like they say, if you don't have room in your cupboard, just leave it out. It's totally, it is. If you guys know, raise your hand if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I was given this present right before I started all the baking.
Had to go the day before Christmas so that it would be used.
Yes.
She would have killed me if I waited.
Right. So I made, and 5 days previous, I hadn't done any sourdough baking because I was starting to not be able to fit into any of my clothes with all the sourdough baking. So I started taking the sourdough starter, if you know what I mean. Here, I'm talking to some of you out there, but take the sourdough starter out for 5 days, re-energize it or revive it. Yeah. Hi, baby, you can do it. You can do it.
Wake it up.
Wake it up, make it active and alive. And I made, this wasn't sourdough, but I made the best ginger molasses cookies with crystallized ginger you have ever had. I mean, hello. Like the best. I could sell them.
Yes.
And then I made sourdough buttermilk biscuits from scratch. And then I made sourdough better than any cinnamon rolls that you would kill your neighbor for. And then I made,
I would hope you wouldn't.
Yeah. And what else did I make? Oh, eggnog ice cream. As I love eggnog. Anyone like eggnog, and you buy it once a year. It's like 40,000 calories for a sip. But I saw the eggnog ice cream and I'm like, ooh, I'm going to make it healthier. Can't really make it healthy, but I'm going to make it. I'm not going to pay $8 for a half gallon. So I made my own eggnog ice cream.
Healthy is relative at the holiday time.
It is.
It's just relative.
But
it is.
You could pronounce all the ingredients and everything that I made, and it was organic everything. And I just baked my butt off. Unfortunately, not really, because then you bake it on. You know what I'm saying? Don't need to say anything else.
But that was probably one of your biggest appreciation moments from the past couple of weeks, was receiving that, because, it's one of those things that, some years you're on with gift giving, and I was on this year.
My sister, we got her on FaceTime, and I opened the package and I was screaming.
Yeah.
I think we went on together.
It needed to happen because there's a lot of baking that happens around here. I think you just asked me about if we were going to need to get a new mixer because the hand mixer was about to break because you've been using it.
I think I burned it out. KitchenAid, beautiful work of art. Love it.
But we are now full steam ahead into 2025. Very excited. There's a lot of great things that are happening with the program, the Immanuel training program. We've got some new students just started, did an orientation today, and they are all super excited to learn and grow in this model. And one of the things that we're wanting to do is answer some questions and maybe help you decide if the Immanuel approach is actually right for you, because it may or may not be. I think it's right for everybody, actually, because it's so versatile. You can use it in so many different ways. But we're going to do a live workshop. Melinda and I are going to host it. It's called, Is the Immanuel Approach Right for Me? When are we going to do that?
We're doing it on Monday, January 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern, and that's 10 Pacific. That's 6 p.m. British Standard Time. Yep. We would love to have you join us. It's going to be about 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's going to be chock full of helpful information and even why traditional methods often hit walls. If you are in any way curious about it, or even if you have learned about it before, come and join us. It's going to be really fun, exciting.
Yeah.
And we want to ask you right now, even you can stop this podcast right now and go register.
Yep.
And they can register where?
ImmanuelTraining.com. That's spelled with an I. That's the Hebrew way. ImmanuelTraining.com, IMMANUEL /register. Pretty simple. You can go in there and sign up. You'll get some information and know how to access it. The Zoom link, it's going to be on Zoom. Replay is going to be available if you can't make it live, but we really want you to be there live because, hey, we're going to be there. We're going to be there. Yeah.
Like, seriously, if you have been listening to the podcast for a while, and we haven't met you, I haven't met you, please come on just to meet me. Even if for nothing else, let me meet you. I'm not even saying come meet me and I'll give you an autograph. Let me meet you, because we're sitting here looking at a computer screen, talking into a mic, but I actually would love to meet the people that listen.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people have found us because of this podcast. Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Well, that's an invitation. Well, come on and let me meet you. That's all I'm saying.
We have a gift for you. We do not have a guest. We have a gift for you guys this week.
That was pretty witty.
It was witty.
It wasn't even planned.
Yeah, it was not planned. Yeah. But we do have a gift for you. And we have a recording video. Actually, if you're on YouTube, you can pull it up there and see us. We're not just talking into the ether. We're actually on video now. But Melinda is going to lead you in a group Immanuel encounter. This is using the Immanuel Approach tools that we love to teach and train in a context where you can lead a group in a connection with Jesus and inviting them into an interaction with Jesus. And Melinda is going to lead that. She'll share a little bit about it and lead that for you. So that's what the podcast is about this time. We wanted to give you a gift of an encounter with Jesus, and maybe you can ask him some questions about what his dream for you is moving into 2025. And we just are so excited about what Jesus is doing, how people are learning and growing in these tools, the transformation. We just graduated 25 of our students in December, and to hear them share about the life-changing transformation by being in the program, by being exposed to the Immanuel Approach, learning it, receiving ministry sessions, facilitating them. I mean, it's just transformational, absolutely transformational. So that's why we want to tell people about it. That's why we're having the webinar on Monday, ImmanuelTraining.com /register, ImmanuelTraining.com /register. Join us. I mean, it's an hour and a half of your time on Monday the 13th, and maybe we'll answer some questions and see if maybe what this can do might benefit you. And I'm pretty sure it will.
And invite others.
Yeah. Share the link with everybody.
You just never know what you're going to experience unless you try.
Good
so
point.
I dare you to step out And if this is a risk, I don't know what you're risking except
free.
90 minutes.
It's
so
free.
You're not really risking.
It's 90 minutes of your time.
Come and have fun with us and meet us. I would love, love, love to meet you and see your face, whether I've seen you before or not, but I'm even more excited if I haven't met you. So come along and join us on Monday.
And enjoy this connection with Jesus. If you're driving, you might want to save it for when you're not, because we want you to be able to just really step into that place of encounter. And Jesus just always shows up. He just has a way of doing it. All right. Happy New Year, you guys. Glad to be back, and we'll have some more content coming along the way.
Yes, excited about it.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody. So those of you who have experienced this, you know that even if you've experienced it multiple times, that it's a different experience every time, right? It's kind of like, there's a lot of yeses, but it's kind of like if you hang out, you have a best friend or your spouse or just someone you really love to be with. Is it the same conversation every time? If it was, that would be a really boring relationship. Like it's, like almost scripted. I know exactly what I'm going to say to my husband who walks in the door, and then he's going to reply this way, and then I'm going to say this. And that would be super robotic. But when you're in a relationship, whether you've just getting to know the person or you've been in a long-term relationship with someone, whatever that is, you have conversations. You don't know where the conversation is going to go. You have no idea how that other person is going to answer. You may think you know how they're going to answer, but really we don't know. And so that's the beautiful thing. Even if you've done this multiple times, and I've led a group of manuals dozens and I don't know, probably a few hundred times. And I listen as well, because Jesus is pretty multifaceted. I say that very tongue in cheek. And if we feel like he's said all that he's ever going to say to you, then we need to help change your thoughts on who God is. Because I'd rather be of the belief that I can continue to get to know God, continue to see different aspects of his nature, of his character, and hear how he feels about me. Because don't we need that? We hear enough negative stuff from our own thoughts, from media, from whatever. Is it ever too much to hear how he feels about us? And it's kind of that analogy of you get married, and your husband never says, I love you. Well, I told you once when we got married, 25 years later. No, you want to continue to hear that, to build attachment, healthy attachment with Jesus. And even if you never went beyond this particular step in Immanuel Approach, this would change your life if you practiced it on an ongoing basis. And so those of you who are familiar with this, I am going to share what is called an appreciation moment in Immanuel Approach. And this is how it always starts. And let me tell you, you can't do this enough because it just feels good. And I'll talk a little bit about what is being released in your brain as you think about a positive memory. And I have a lot because I look for them now. And the more I've practiced this in my daily life, the little simple things can become really beautiful appreciation moments. And so just even today, there's big ones, there's big dramatic ones where I saw a moose and I prayed for it and there it was, but I won't share a big dramatic one. You can ask me about that later. But just today, I drove 3 minutes to this tiny little, it was more of a pond, but I'm a nature person. I love nature. I've got to be in nature like every day. I'm probably born in the trees or something, not really, but feels like it. So I drove to this little college where it has a little nature preserve in the middle of urban Simpsonville. And so today I walked, and around the corner for the first time, one of the big trees, I don't know what it is already turning red, even though it's still in the 80s here. And I love the fall. I love autumn. It's my favorite. Well, besides winter, it's my favorite season because it's cooling off. And I just stood looking at this tree, and I was immediately feeling, oh my gosh, how is it already turning red? It's still 85 degrees here. In the UK, that's like 28 degrees Celsius, or Canada. And I was so grateful, and I was by myself. I couldn't see anybody. except a few turtles on a log that was sticking out of this pond. They're always there basking in the sun. I try to be quiet because they sense you coming. They immediately jump. Do they jump? Slide into the pond. And I just stood there looking at the sun shining through the trees and appreciating this beautiful red tree. And I thought to myself, the thought actually went through my mind. It reminded me of this gorgeous place near Sisters, Oregon. If you haven't been there, you need to go, near Bend, Oregon, and this gorgeous lake with aspens. And I just saw this photo in my phone the other day. And for a second, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is almost, not quite, as beautiful as what I was seeing in Oregon 3 years ago. And I felt so much appreciation. And I thought, thank you, God, that this is so close to my home and that I don't have to go to Oregon to appreciate, to experience the beauty of fall and leaves turning their colors. And it was still semi-cool. It wasn't super hot yet. In the shade, it felt so good, and the breeze on my skin. And I felt Jesus's presence without me even having to ask, because I'm used to doing this, but I was feeling appreciation, and I felt his appreciation of my appreciation. And I really felt him in the breeze. I felt his presence. It was more of a feeling than a seeing. And as we practice this, as we practice perceiving his presence, it's really fun. I feel like this is a fun thing to do because we get to learn and experience Jesus sharing himself with us in different ways. Some of us are more seers, like we just see, we're very visual. Some are more feelers. Some just have a sense of his presence. And maybe some of you think, I've never experienced his presence. I don't even know what you're talking about, Melinda. What are you talking about? You felt him in the breeze, or you saw an image of him over by the tree. Guess what? He wants to reveal himself to you more than you even want it. And the cool thing about brain science, as you'll learn, is that we can actually come into practicing the skill of perceiving his presence. And it's not as hard as maybe you have believed it to be. Nor is listening to his voice. But that appreciation piece, or hearing his voice, that appreciation piece is key. Feeling appreciation. And those of you who know, and I'm so thankful that appreciation has become a trending thing, you guys. Like, it's all over social media and what gratitude does for the brain. But one thing that it does is when I'm feeling that appreciation, it releases oxytocin, which is a bonding chemical, a neurotransmitter in my brain. And as I re-enter that positive experience and allow myself to feel what it felt like, I can actually feel it in my body, what it felt like, even though it was a few hours ago or even 20 years ago. I can feel it because my right brain doesn't process time, the right hemisphere of my brain. And that's where I store experiences and pictures and emotions and relationships and happy memories, things like that. And so when I re-enter and truly reconnect, reboot that positive memory, feeling it, thinking about it, seeing it in my mind's eye, then my brain is releasing the same feel-good chemicals as were released in the original memory. And this oxytocin just makes us feel good. We get hits of dopamine when I'm sitting and looking at something I'm appreciating. And appreciation is a brain skill that will rewire our brain. And Dr. Jim Wilder, he's a neurotheologian. Many of you have heard of him. He says that feeling just 5 minutes of appreciation 3 times a day over 30 days can change our outlook on life and reset the nervous system to run on joy. So we're talking about a full body experience. This is not just some ethereal thing of like, I really just want to hear God's voice. He's actually interested in rewiring our nervous system. If you've had like a dysregulated nervous system or lived out of a trauma response, which is many people, appreciation and sitting in appreciation will help rewire you back to your original wiring. And that's to run on joy and peace and have that sense of belonging. And then the next step is, and I know I'm going a little over time, but the next step is inviting Jesus into that appreciation moment. Once you're feeling appreciation, we're going to go into this momentarily. He uses our imagination. Did you know that? He uses our imagination to help us see him. Ephesians 1:18, Paul says, I pray that the light of God will illuminate the eyes of your imagination. That's a translation in the Passion Translation, flooding you with light. And he says the very center and core of your being. And David constantly used his imagination to picture who God is for him. It is scriptural, it's biblical. I would just invite you to close your eyes, and you don't have to in fact, don't turn your camera off. No one's looking at you. Well, I am, but just with your eyes closed. And I would just invite you to relax and get comfortable if you're not comfortable, and take a couple deep breaths. You know, part of entering back into a positive memory is making sure that our body feels relaxed, that our nervous system is regulated and in the parasympathetic state. That's the rest and digest. So just notice your body relaxing as you take a deep breath. And just notice any places of tension or stress in your body. Just let yourself feel yourself relaxing. And then I'd invite you, as I shared that simple appreciation moment, I'd invite you to recall an appreciation moment. And that's anything, something simple. Drinking your first sip of coffee in the morning, having a conversation with a friend, being out in nature, looking at a beautiful tree. And if you're really struggling with that, think about the last time you saw a beautiful sunset or a beautiful flower. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Just something that you feel appreciation for. And I'd invite you to re-experience and reconnect with all of your senses. What could you feel and hear, see? What did you sense or taste or smell? Allow yourself to notice and be aware of details, maybe that you forgot about. Notice how your body was feeling. If you were sitting, walking, standing, be aware of how your body felt in that memory. And I'd encourage you, I know some might be tempted to write these things down, but just put the pen aside for a moment, and this will be recorded so you can listen to it later, but allow yourself to truly connect without pulling yourself out by writing it down. What are you looking at in this memory? Or who are you looking at? What do you see? And I'd invite you to notice what you feel especially grateful for in this memory. Maybe you're especially grateful for the friend you were hanging out with, or especially grateful for the yummy food you were eating, or the beauty of what you were looking at. I invite you to notice and be aware of what you felt especially grateful for. And allow yourself to feel gratitude and appreciation. It actually has a feeling, attached to it. And notice what that feels like. How does your body feel? How is your body responding to the feeling of appreciation? You feel it in your, just notice, do you feel it in your stomach? Do you have maybe some goosebumps or just a kind of a peace in your head or in your heart? Just notice and be aware of how and what that appreciation feels like, even in your body. And now in your emotions, how does it make, what emotions are evoked or emotion is evoked as you feel gratitude and appreciation? And there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just noticing, being aware of how you're feeling, of how your heart and mind and body is responding to appreciation and gratitude. And as you feel that gratitude, we can begin to direct it to Jesus without words, just feeling that. And maybe some of you already have a sense of Jesus being with you in that memory. But if you don't, we're going to, by faith, ask him to show us or to help us perceive where he is with us. And like for me today, it wasn't a seeing so much as just a perceiving and feeling him in the breeze. And so as you are in that positive appreciation moment, you can pray something like, Jesus, help me perceive your tangible, interactive presence. And then just notice the very first thing that comes into your awareness without judging it, analyzing it, trying to make sense of it. What comes in? What comes in to your heart, to your mind, to your vision? Jesus, help me perceive your tangible, interactive presence. And if you have maybe a problem with Jesus, maybe that's scary or you're not sure, maybe you can just say God. And even if that's scary, you can say perfect love or creator. However you address God. But notice whatever is coming into your awareness, thoughts or images, feelings, any even body sensations. We all experience his presence in different ways. And I encourage you, don't try, just allow. Don't try, just allow and be with whatever is coming in. We've asked God, we've asked Jesus, and we can trust his goodness toward us and his desire to be with us. And so allow yourself to notice what this presence feels like. Or maybe you see a clear picture or feel, or you just have a sense. Notice what that feels like. What does his presence feel like or look like? Allow yourself to be aware of details. Or maybe it's just more of a vague sense. And that's okay. If you do have a sense of his presence with you, just allow yourself to stay connected to that gratitude and appreciation. And if it kind of veers off and if you kind of lose connection, I'd encourage you to just stay in that appreciation place. without getting into the thinking brain. But if you have a sense of a connection with him, whether you see him or feel him or have a knowing, I'd invite you to ask this question. We're just starting a little conversation with a friend. Jesus, how do you feel about being with me right now? Jesus, how do you feel about being with me right now? And notice whatever comes into your awareness. And we can know his voice, the litmus test for knowing whether it's him or our own voice or something else. If it feels, sounds, looks like love. And if it doesn't feel, sound, or look like love, we can just say, Jesus, help me to perceive your living interactive presence. Again, this is a skill that takes some time to practice and develop. And so if you're struggling in any way or feel a block, that's okay. There are troubleshooting methods that we don't have time to go into right now, but just trust the process and stay in that appreciation moment. But we're just going to ask him one more question from this place of connection with him. And even if you don't have a strong sense, I'd encourage you to ask anyway and notice the very first thing, again, that comes into your awareness without judging it or analyzing it or trying to make sense. Jesus, what do you want me to know about you right now? What do you want me to know about you right now? So as we finish up, I would just stay in that place, stay with your eyes closed for another moment, but allow that feeling, that sense, that connection with Jesus to linger. And maybe you didn't have a sense of his presence. Again, that's okay. Staying in that appreciation moment and how that made you feel. And so we can, just for about 30 more seconds, stay in that appreciation or in that connection with his presence. And then with me, just take a deep breath in your nose if you're able. You could do a sigh out of your mouth or exhale out of your nose, just releasing and reconnecting to your breath, and then feel your feet on the floor, your back on your chair, coming back to this present moment, this present day. And if you need to move your legs or shrug your shoulders, just coming back to right now in this moment. But letting that feeling of appreciation, the connection with Jesus, if you had one, linger. And this is a practice. Again, it's a practice. And the more we do it, the easier it becomes to have that very quick connection.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. This is a listener-supported podcast, and if you have received value in any way from our content, we would truly appreciate you to partner with us financially, and you can do that by going to our website, facetofaceministries.org/give for tax-deductible giving. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.